Welcome back. German police are carrying out raids across the country in a large-scale operation in response to what national media are calling an imminent terror threat. Their prime targets, a group of Russian nationals of Chechen origin, suspected of financing terrorist organizations. RT's Peter Oliver reports.
Right, well, we understand that police have launched counter-terror raids across 5 different states all over Germany, from the top to the bottom, and raided a number of apartments as well as communal accommodations. Now, the raids were based on information that we understand was linked to a serious act of violence against the state. Now, we're still waiting for official confirmation of any arrests that have been made. We understand that the target for this operation was a 28-year-old Russian national who originates from Chechnya. There's also a further 10 men and 3 women, also from the Chechen region of Russia, all of whom were asylum seekers. Now, it has been widely reported in the press that they were detained by the authorities. However, there's no official confirmation from the police just yet as to whom they have in custody. We'll be waiting from that a little bit later on. We do understand that all of those who have been or who were targeted in these raids were asylum seekers who were still waiting to have their asylum applications processed. But this isn't the first major raid that we've seen in Germany this month. Earlier in October, there was a huge raid in the city of Chemnitz in the state of Saxony. The target there was Jabal al-Bakir. Now, there's huge questions over the actions of the authorities in that raid. I mean, al-Bakir originally had been cleared by security services as not being a terror risk back in 2015. He was then put back onto the watch list, and they launched this raid against him. There was he wasn't picked up in the initial raid. There was then a 2-day manhunt following that raid and shootout. He was eventually handed in by Syrian refugees, but al-Bakir later killed himself while in police custody, all of which raised a lot of questions about how the operation was handled, from planning right up until him being held in detention. We'll be waiting to find out if there's any official comment. Since this took place in 5 states across Germany, we'll perhaps be hearing from Thomas de Maizière later on, the German Interior Minister, for more on what has happened. What we do know is that these raids have been launched across Germany, aiming to pick up terror suspects.
The U.S. State Department has released a batch of documents from Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State. However, with vast amount of them heavily redacted, the moves only fired the controversy further. RT's Caleb Maupin investigates.
For well over a year, Hillary Clinton has been at the center of a scandal involving her emails. Now the U.S. State Department has stepped forward and released the documents regarding its investigation of Hillary Clinton and her use of a private server for classified government emails. Now, just like the 28 pages from the 9/11 Commission report and the report on civilians killed by drones, the report and the documents were released on a Friday, just before the weekend, very quietly. A strange practice for an administration that claims to be the most transparent in U.S. history.
We have put in place the toughest ethics laws and toughest transparency rules of any administration in history. Independent watchdog group took a look and said this has been the most transparent government, most transparent administration that we have seen in a very, very long time, perhaps in the modern era.
Now, the documents were released on Friday, and we spent the weekend carefully going through them. What did we find out? Well, nothing. It turns out a lot of the contents was redacted or blacked out by State Department officials and is not available to the public at this time. Now, what was there was a little bit interesting. For example, in 2011, Hillary Clinton had a conference call with the Turkish foreign minister. Now, what was said in this conference call? We have no way of knowing. It was all redacted. It was all blacked out. The same goes for a conversation that Hillary Clinton had with the King of Saudi Arabia. Now, interestingly, there was an email in which Huma Abedini, Hillary Clinton's aide, urged Clinton not to use her private email, but rather she urged Hillary Clinton to use a government email. Now, the reason for it wasn't security, though. It was because too many messages were ending up in Hillary Clinton's spam folder. I'm joined by legal and media analyst Lionel. Now, Lionel, tell me, the Obama administration claims it's the most transparent administration in U.S. history. So why so many redactions in these documents?
Because they're not the most transparent. And I don't want to, I don't know how to break it to the government, but when you release a document with nothing that is able to be read, that is illegible through a series of blacked out lines, that is not the release of anything. It's become a joke. My next question is, where are the mainstream media to refute that? Why are we talking about this? Why is there no outrage on the part of the average American citizen?
Well, it seems to me like a lot of what was redacted was related to interactions with foreign leaders. Like, one of the things was this conversation she had with the Turkish foreign minister. One of the other things was this conversation she had with the Saudis, a kind of a proposal or an offer she had made to the king. What do you suppose is going on they don't want us to know about?
Well, how can you tell what it is when it's been redacted?
Sure.
And though I can't verify this, I believe there could very well be an automatic let's get people used to the notion of redacted without even looking and actually considering what statements were made. Is this sensitive at all? Or let's just cause this behavior to be cemented by saying, no, you're not entitled to this. And that's the end of it. And say national security.
For over a year, we've been hearing about Hillary Clinton's emails and the shady practices revealed therein. This new, highly redacted stack of papers recently released by the U.S. State Department isn't going to make the controversy go away. Caleb Maupin, RT, New York.
And up next, Watching the Hawks discusses Israel's ongoing construction of homes on disputed lands. Do stay with us.